Hello everyone, Firecrest Gaming here and welcome back to another video. We are back now for the Forza DLC review that obviously is the monthly series, and this time we have the Top Gear car pack. This is a bit of a different one, because a bit of an interesting one actually, because I like all the cars in it, and generally there's just a nice selection to go around. And also, just a quick note, in this video I'll be putting all the cars just into one to speed this along, because I am rather busy actually with videos these days. But I'm just going to condense this all down and put it in one big video. So you've been seeing the first car already in the Forza Vista and now going around the circuit of the Americas, and that's because the first car we're reviewing is the Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat. Another car to come out of Dodge's division of the Hellcat. This is a rather crazy car. There's so much power and so much grunt in this thing. It is a proper American muscle. However, there's a problem with that these days, because American muscles, as you may have been noticing, are getting a bit more, not civilized, but just overall better. Obviously, the new Corvette has been able to compete with the cars around it, while still maintaining its cheapness compared to the other cars. Because for the same money, you'd be getting for the same money as a new Corvette, you'd be getting a Jaguar FType, which is nowhere as quick as the Corvette. And then you also have the Shelby GT350R, a more evolved version of a Mustang, which can actually go round corners rather than just wallow about in them. The Charger is still the case of wallowing about in the corners. I think, as far as I remember, Dodge were not in the best position financially, so they haven't been able to keep up with the other companies. And I'm comparing Corvettes and Chargers here, but the point still stands. This car, and maybe the Challenger as well, the Challenger Hellcat, all shows Dodge's ability, or inability to say, to be able to make a modern muscle car that can actually still be good compared to its rivals, because it's not even bad compared to European rivals. It's bad compared to its modern day competitors in muscle cars as well. So, next car, we really just want to skip over this one because it's, what do you say? It's a Range Rover. Frankly, if I wanted to, I'd just stop there, but I can't because, well, I need to fill time here, and I need to talk about each car individually, but what am I supposed to say? Well, I'll try then. So, yeah, the Range Rover. It's a big SUV, obviously style vehicle. It was never going to be brilliant, and my point stands. It's tall. It's quite bad for it. It's not actually too bad actually though through the corners. It's not horrible to the point where you're understeering off into the grass all the time. But it's not exactly hitting every single apex. And really, I don't have to say much more. It's just kind of. It's annoying that Forza they have these choices to put in these cars for every single April DLC, and they could just they could just throw every single glorious car our way that we really want to thrash about, throw around the corners and charge down straights. And instead, we get a big family SUV. It's kind of there's still some very good cars in this pack. But I'm just making a point. Why don't Forza waste their time with these types of cars? Just why? So moving on to one of the cars that actually I really like from this pack. It is a classic. It is the Jaguar XJS. This is a proper classic that they've added in. And I'm glad. I was very happy though. It's one of those cars that I never knew I wanted it, but the second it appeared, oh my, I was pretty happy, I must say. So I decided to take this car around the Top Gear test track for a couple of reasons. One, it's the Top Gear car pack. I had to take a car around the Top Gear test track for eventually. And two, this is the only car in the pack that has actually appeared in a Top Gear episode. This car actually itself has appeared multiple times. The first few appearances was when they injected nitrous into it, and it beat a load of supercars in a drag race, and then killed the old Stig. But apart from the car itself, this was probably one of the favourite cars to drive the pack, to be honest, and I'm not even joking. This was a slower car, but it just felt so nice to drive. So honestly, heading through all the corners, it hits its apexes quite well. It was pretty good in a straight line. Although, being an old car, it was never going to get away with everything, and the body roll on this was rather large, to say the least. It felt a bit like a swaying boat at times, but the swaying boat managed to keep control through all the corners. You can see there, the camera is tilted. That is the amount of body roll that was going on for each of the corners. But regardless, the Jaguar XJS, it's here in Forza 6. It's an old British classic. You couldn't really ask for much more, could you? So, I'm honestly happy to see all these cars in, but what other surprises have we got in store for us? Well, how about you try this? It is the 2016 RollsRoyce Dawn, as it's called. As far as I can tell, this looks like some kind of convertible version of the Wraith, the car that was already in Forza 6. So this car is a convertible Wraith, and not the best of signs actually, because the Wraith was quite heavy, it wasn't the best to drive, so maybe the Dawn can be a bit better. Yes, it can. I took this around Brands Hatch, as you can quite clearly see, and it really was pretty surprising. This is probably the biggest surprise of the pack, just considering the nature of the car and what it's supposed to be. This car handled okay, considering it's in a C class. It had some pretty good straight line speed, and it's just, I was astonished by this car. I'm guessing this is kind of, if anyone remembers the Top Gear episode where they went to Albania with the Rolls-Royce, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember, it was a Rolls-Royce something. The Mercedes S-Class and the Bentley. Then this car, it kind of feels, I'm guessing it feels a lot like that car was. It was quite nippy, and it was actually pretty damn good. So, RollsRoyce Dawn. Easily the biggest surprise of the Top Gear car pack. So now we're going to move on to the final 3 cars I believe we're on now. So we are starting with this. It is the Jaguar FType Project 7. I think that's its name, don't quote me on that. But this car is interesting to say the least. You'll have noted the paint scheme by now. This car's blue, so it won't show it off, but it was supposed to be an original showing of the Jaguar D-Type, that legendary racer from so long ago. But moving on to actual performance on the track, well, you can quite clearly see there, going through the first corner of Silverstone, it slid out of control. It's still an F-Type. It still wants to bite back. But apart from the rest of the lap, well, it was actually pretty good. He obviously has the spoiler on the back. I'm not saying that it's going to help, but it's not exactly going to do any harm. It has a pretty good straight line speed, and one of the best things about it is you'll probably be able to hear it by now. It keeps that proper roar that you get from a Jaguar F-Type. Let's take a listen. The noise from this car is really, really nice. It's never quiet, but frankly, I don't think we care when the noise is spectacular in return. It also looks cool, brilliant as well. I do quite like this car, it must be said, although it's all right to drive, but I just honestly like looking at it and listening to this car. So now we're getting into the big business. I really have saved the best for last, and we're moving on to the brand new 2016 Audi R8. This is an interesting car to have. This is obviously a bit of a different car. They've had a bit of restyling from the old model, and they've also put on. I think they've messed around with the body of the car a bit, so there's a few more parts to it, which just looks a bit more, I don't know, efficient, aerodynamic, one of the two. But it definitely paid off when I took this thing around Hockenheim. The best lap, I don't think it was this one, but I remember the best lap I did with this, and these were clean laps, was a 1:53.1. And then I took the old model round of the 2013 one, and that got round the track in 1:55.5. Round a 1 minute 50 lap, this car is 2.4 seconds quicker than the old model. It's quite a long lap, so there's definitely a lot of time for this car to make up. Well, make up the time as such. But certainly, it has a massive edge over its predecessor. This car is properly quick. But it seemed as though one of the places it made up its time was in the straights. In the corners, though, it felt a little bit unstable at the rear. It didn't feel all that brilliant, to be honest. It could have been a lot better, certainly. But, so, brand new R8. It's much, much faster than the old model. It's faster in a straight line. But, I don't know, I have some doubts about this car, particularly through cornering. And now, moving on to the final car. This was the big one. It's the Ferrari FXXK. Look at this thing. This is a proper car. This is a proper racer. So obviously, if you remember the old FXX, that came down and destroyed the Top Gear lap time record, which at the time was the Gumper Topolo on a 1:17.1. This came round and did a 1 minute 10.7. I dread to think what this would do in the hands of the Stig if they actually put him round the Top Gear test track to see what it would do. Although the FXX was driven by Michael Schumacher, so it depends to see what happened. But getting back to the car, it's a racing Ferrari, and I'd put it around Monza. What do you think it's going to be? Utter perfection, frankly. The noise from this car as well. That noise from this car is something else. There's only one other time I've heard a Ferrari scream like that, and that was with the Ferrari F333, the little kind of Le Mans racer. That is the only other car I've heard scream like that from Ferrari. It's so loud. And frankly, I've got no objections to it, and I love it, frankly. So really, that's all I can say about this car, and of this car pack. So thank you all very much for watching this, all the way through to the end if you have. Bit of a longer one than has been normal, but with things as they are, I just have to combine things in more and kind of, I don't want to waste any time. So I'm doing this in the quickest way possible and just combining it all into one big video. So I don't know which style you like more actually, kind of putting the pack into two parts or putting it in just a singular big episode, if you will, video. So yeah, that'll be it then. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.